One of the biggest stars on one of the biggest shows on Hulu. That is a wow factor casting moment. And it's exactly what the franchise needs to get people excited about watching seasons of The Bachelor. Hello and welcome back. Yay! Welcome back to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. I am so happy to be back with you today. You guys have no idea. You have no idea. I just got back from Scotland. I can't tell you how many times I practiced that one single word, Scotland. Like, I did practice it a lot. I understand that it really doesn't sound any better than the first time I practiced it in my head on the 7-hour plane ride home yesterday. But I did practice it. Yes, was in Scotland for 6 days, rainy, gloomy, cold Scotland. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was rich in history. But there are very few places that I have been on a vacation that I'm there and I think I cannot wait to get home to Northeast Ohio. You know, and like I said, don't get me wrong. It was beautiful, gorgeous, stunning, historic, but very cold. And I don't do well in the cold. Or with history, to be quite frank with you. I do better with lazy rivers and an all-you-can-eat breakfast. So it is what it is. Gorgeous place for a wedding. I will say the Scots have so much more fun when it comes to wedding tradition than we do here in the States. I got to be honest, I was a little bit jealous. They had all these Scottish dances that they were doing. And it was like everywhere from you and one other person to you and 4 other people to you and 6 other people. And I mean, everybody was just having an absolute ball. And it really got me thinking, do we have anything like that in the United States? I was really trying to think of like, what is something you go to a wedding, everybody knows it. And you want to know the most depressing thing ever? The answers are the Cotton Eye Joe and the Cha-Cha Slide Part 2. It's time to get funky. You know what like, how embarrassing. How embarrassing. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. That's our tradition when it comes to weddings. So I really just had a great time embracing it. It was so much fun. And I think I would have enjoyed my trip more had the weather been better. You know, I'm not much of a walker. I'm more of a layer downer, you know, and Scotland is a city of sights. You know, that's what people go to do. They see the castle. We did go to Edinburgh Castle. It was beautiful, but like I said, it was raining sideways on my face. And I just don't do well under those conditions. But still, totally worth it to see one of my best and lifelong friends get married. Not lifelong friends. I met our friend Scott from Scotland the same time I met my husband, David. So they actually were roommates in college. So we were the 3 amigos back in the day. We've stayed in contact with him for so long. And he found himself an Ohio girl. There's just something in the water here. If you're looking for a wife, come to Ohio, you'll find somebody from South Africa or Scotland because Lord knows there aren't any good men in the state of Ohio. I shouldn't make blanket statements like that because I'm sure there's probably like 3 or 4. But, you know, that just was not my journey. Other little tidbits about my vacation to Scotland. I only had vacation constipation for 2 days, which is like a miracle. So that was fantastic. I did slip a disc in my back, and that's being 32. That's being 32. You know, while we were trying to hide from the rain, we stayed in our hotel room a lot. And just going to be honest, the couch was not that comfortable. Like I said, I'm a layer downer. And when I got up one time, I just slipped the disc, pinched nerve in the bottom of my hip. Then to get on a 7-hour flight, not great. Came home, tried to go to the grocery store. The battery to the car is dead. So I had to take my husband's 2010 Ford Ranger. I thought it was feeling a little better, got in that truck, slipped the disc again, you know, and that's just being 32. That's just being 32. And that's all I have to say about that. Let's go ahead and get into all of the goodies. Gosh, now that I haven't been here for well, technically just 1 week. There's so much we have to talk about, starting with the biggest news of the day, the most exciting Summer House spinoff. Yeah. So excited. We've been waiting for this moment. For a moment like this, Kelly Clarkson would say, fantastic news. I believe it's going to be called In the City. When I was looking earlier, they just posted the little teaser, and it was so cryptic, right? It was the surveillance videos in the summer house. It goes off one by one, and then it's like, are you ready to send it? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, in the city, and we're like, yeah, just losing it over here. But the caption said City Life activated, a new series is coming soon. We really did that, you guys. We did that with all of our online chatter about how we needed Summer House to evolve. Coming up on season 10, my theory the entire time, and even more so in this moment, 10 is a good spot to be done and dusted, especially with people like Kyle and Amanda, who've been on the show for so long. Kyle is 47 years old, and he's 42, right? But they want to settle down. They want to have kids. It just does not make sense that they're going to the Hamptons every weekend in this share house. Oh my God, I'm 31 and I'm 32. I keep forgetting my age. I ain't living in no share house. Absolutely not. Every weekend of my summer sounds like horrific, if you ask me. So we've been kind of knowing that somewhat of a transition needed to happen, but we didn't really know what that was going to look like. What amazing news for Summer House fans that we're getting this spinoff. And we don't know for sure who's going to be there and for sure not. There was one article that said Kyle, Amanda, and Lindsay, definitely Andrea Denver. Don't even get me started on the fact that Andrea Denver might be gracing our screens again, and his wife, Lexi. It said Carl, unknown. Again, this is just the first report that was put out there after the news came out. And I know people had been talking about the future of Summer House a lot. There had been a lot of people online advocating for a little trio spinoff of Amanda, Sierra, and Paige. There was news earlier in the summer that was leaked that it was a Lindsay spinoff. In my personal opinion, the spinoff needs to be the core. And the core OG3 for me are Kyle, Carl, and Lindsay. And I feel like the boys don't get talked about as much because we love the girlies. And don't get me wrong, we love the girlies, right? We love them more than the boys. But I do also feel like the boys are instrumental to the DNA of Summer House. Summer House would not be what it is now without Kyle and without Carl. So hopefully we'll be seeing Carl, we will be seeing Kyle and Amanda. What that means for people like Sierra or Paige, I don't know. That would be such a boss heist move of Paige DeSorbo. She's like, yeah, I'm just going to take a summer break and then immediately come back for this new spinoff. And she just is able to slide right back into it and not take 3-hour trips out to the Hamptons. That's like checkers. She's playing chess. That's what that is. I do believe that the show will split with Jesse and West remaining in the traditional Summer House, right? And then everybody else who, like me, likes to lay down will go back to this In the City show. Imagine this Summer House spinoff only leaves Jesse and West on Summer House. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in the blink of an eye, Summer House is now Jesse Solomon and West Wilson's show. How crazy is that, right? How crazy is that, especially when you consider the lore of it? When they first came onto the scene, we're like, oh, is this Kyle and Carl 2.0? Maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe that was the craziness, right? Right. Let's move on to headline number 2. Dancing with the Stars premiered this week, and wow, the talent on Dancing with the Stars this season is absolutely through the roof. I feel like everybody could dance, even the people that you thought weren't supposed to and were only there for, giggles and laughs and tushy shakes. I felt like everybody did a really great job. And if you don't watch Dancing with the Stars, you should give it another chance. I know it was popular back in the day, then it went through a bit of a lull. It's back, baby. Dancing with the Stars is back. And I think We owe a lot of it to the casting decisions. I feel like they really have been able to cultivate a fan base, a really diverse fan base when it comes to people's walks of life, right? When you are casting people like Alex Earl, you're really tapping into Gen Z. When you're getting people like The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, you're tapping into us millennials. Even like Elaine Hendrix, who might appeal to more of an older audience. She also appeals to us millennials because she was the iconic Meredith Blake, you know? So I feel like they do a really good job of, in more recent seasons, of having a really full, well-rounded cast. And you know, we kind of came into this season knowing who to look out for. Whitney Leavitt and Mark Ballas, I said from the jump, you know, they were my mirrorball trophy winners, my way too early prediction. We just knew it was going to be so good. And they were, right? I think they were second on the leaderboard after this episode got done airing. They were so good. Whitney in her dance experience. Mark is like one of my favorite pros of all time. And I just love having him back. I think people are so excited to see him. But there were so many surprises in that premiere of Dancing with the Stars. Robert Irwin, I'm sorry. What? Robert Irwin went last. He did a jive. And dare I say, I teared up. I mean, I was a little bit delusional because I had just been traveling for 13 hours and Scotland had a 5-hour time difference. So it was technically like 6 o'clock in the morning. Not really, but it felt like it. My eyes were twitching, burning. Like I didn't actually know if I was, you know, here physically or not. But I did. I teared up a little bit when Robert Irwin did that jive, when he did the little split jump over Whitney. And, you know, he has such a good emotional storyline, too, that everybody loves a good story, right? His sister, Bindi, competed on Dancing with the Stars, was partnered with Derek Hough and ended up winning. And they showed him as like a little tyke crying, watching his sister win Dancing with the Stars. So what a full circle moment it will be if Robert Irwin ends up winning the Mirrorball trophy. I'm not going to be mad about that. Again, way too early. It's week 1, but wow, he really was incredible. I will say, controversial. I don't know if it's controversial. I don't think it is really, but he did get the best dance of the night. I can't even remember if anybody else did a jive, but when you watch a jive compared to like a tango, the jive is always going to be more entertaining, in my opinion, right? Just two different styles of dancing. So I feel like they put him last and they gave him the jive to really go out with a bang because they knew it was going to be amazing. Other contestants that really shocked me at how good they were, and I'm like, have to eat my words, you guys. And that's not easy for me to do because I love being right. Hilaria Baldwin and Gleb Savchenko. I was laughing it up when they got paired together. And look, they might be fighting like cats and dogs behind the scenes because that's just the energy that I get from the two of them. But they cha-cha-cha'd. They sure enough did. Elaine and Alan, again, a queen. Meredith Blake, unbelievable. Such a great message, too, out there to all the women, so I'm rooting for her. Other little interesting tidbits, Carrie-Ann Inaba was not there. She was sick. I was really surprised that they didn't have anybody fill in for her. The only, thing that I can think of was maybe it just happened so last minute that they didn't have time to get anybody else. But you're in Hollywood, you know. Joey Gracide was in the audience. Like, he won last season. Bring him up as a guest judge. You know what I mean? Just like call somebody up. What I did notice too was some of the newer pros, specifically Ezra and Yan. So Ezra is partnered with gymnast Jordan Childs and Yan is with Jen Affleck. So everyone loves Ezra and want to give him another chance because he was partnered with Anna Delvey last season and she truly could not care less about the competition. So everyone was excited when he got Jordan. And then Yan, everybody was excited because he's one of Taylor Swift's backup dancers, a newbie. It's always exciting, right? But I couldn't help but sit there and wonder if Jordan and Jen feel like because they have such new pros, if that is somewhat of a disadvantage. Because they're still incredible dancers, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, I think the disadvantage comes because they aren't as familiar with the scoring style of the judges. You know, somebody like Val or Whitney or somebody who's been around for a really long time and has gotten years of critique and feedback from Bruno or Carrie Ann or Derek know what they're looking for. You know what I mean? Whereas these newer pros, it's like this fine line that you have to walk of A, entertaining the audience at home, and B, also getting a good score from the in-house judges. How do you do that? I feel like Yan and Ezra kind of fell into that trap this week of pandering too much to what they think the audience would want with a lot of flips and tricks. And there wasn't enough dance content in there. I mean, listen to me talking as if I am Bruno Tamioli himself. I'm not, okay? But and I don't think either of those couples are going anywhere anytime soon. They're both still amazing. I think you do have to find a balance, though, of how to entertain it at home and also get good scores from the judges. Let's move on to headline number 3. So a judge has ruled that the Taylor Swift deposition in the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case is off limits. I don't know about you, but I feel like I have been little ping pong ball, back and forth, back and forth. I'm over it, especially when it comes to the Taylor Swift of it all. A federal judge shut down Justin Baldoni's attempt to depose Taylor Swift in Blake Lively's sexual harassment and retaliation lawsuit. Judge Louis Liman, L-I-M-A-N. How do you guys want me to pronounce that? Liman? I think that's what it is. Said that Justin Baldoni's team waited too long and failed to show good cause. He did, however, give Blake Lively's side an extra 10 days to depose Justin Baldoni and others. So, Baldoni's lawyers claim that Taylor Swift had agreed to testify, just not until after next month. Taylor Swift lawyers came back and said she never agreed to a deposition and has no material role in the case. Then you have Blake Lively's lawyers come in and accuse Justin Baldoni of disrespecting Taylor Swift's privacy and trying to stir up a media spectacle. The whole thing has been a media spectacle. But that is like, I feel like every time Justin Baldoni and his lawyers try to do something, Blake Lively's team is like, media spectacle, send, to all the inside sources. You know what I mean? So Taylor Swift team has repeatedly said there's been zero involvement in the film. Justin Baldoni is just using my name for publicity. Obviously, she got roped in because Justin Baldoni told this tale about the penthouse drama, going up to the penthouse, Blake and Ryan saying, use this, use this, use this. Taylor Swift walks in, you see the dragons. We all know, right? So big picture, as of right now, Taylor Swift, gone, out of the drama, at least for now. The focus stays on Blake Lively, her claims against Baldoni, but his team keeps making headlines for dragging Taylor Swift into it. I'm not a lawyer, okay, but I do understand both sides. I mean, as far as Justin Baldoni is concerned, the use of Taylor Swift as an intimidation tactic is probably a huge deal. To a judge, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is. And also, I can't help but notice, it said here, let me see. Baldoni's team waited too long. Is that not the second time that Justin Baldoni's team has waited too long to do something? Do you remember when they initially dismissed Justin Baldoni's countersuit against the New York Times and Blake Lively? They were like, oh yeah, they did, but we just have to make these edits and then we'll refile it. Well, they didn't end up refiling it because they waited too long. So I'm like, what's going on there? Do you guys not know the deadlines? I know Brian Friedman is a very busy man, but get with it. Okay, let's move on to this week's deep dive. We have a new Bachelorette. We have an unprecedented move by the Bachelor franchise in making Taylor Frankie Paul from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives your next Bachelorette. I do realize this was the biggest story last week, but I did not get the chance to talk to you about it. So I'm going to use my opportunity to talk about it with you now. Okay, let's start from the beginning. There were some cryptic posts coming from Alex Cooper in the Call Her Daddy social media. She had a little cake. It had a blue 30 on it. We all know what that means. 30th season of The Bachelor. Cut it open. It's pink. That's when we're like, oh, it's going to be The Bachelorette. Well, then we get a little ways down the line, a couple days later, we get another teaser, Call Her Daddy. Alex Cooper's on the phone with ABC. She says, you want me to announce the next Bachelorette? How did you get her to say yes? Especially considering that she's on this other show, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll announce it to the world on Wednesday. I don't know if you guys saw. And I'm not psychic, I'm not. But I nailed this prediction to a T. I mean, as soon as I saw that Alex Cooper rule, I knew it's Taylor Frankie. It's done. It's Taylor Frankie Paul. There were some people bullying me in the comments, which is why I said, okay, maybe it could be Brooks Nader too. But I really think it's no. I always knew. It's even in my heart that it was going to be Taylor Frankie Paul. Here's why. Whenever I went to Hulu, the Hulu's Get Real event, I noticed that Hulu in general and the powers that be, it's all under one big umbrella, Disney, ABC, Hulu. They're really trying to up their reality TV game because, let's be honest, the Bachelor franchise has been getting left behind for Love is Blind, for Love Island, all these other shows that like everybody's talking about. And anytime anybody talks about The Bachelor, it's like, typically, I don't want to say typically in a negative context, but it's just not as popular as it once was, and it's getting left in the dust, right? So you see Alex Cooper making these announcements, and you have to pay attention to who's making these announcements. And I thought, that's interesting. And I thought to myself, as Hulu is trying to really expand their reality TV empire, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is the most successful reality TV show that Hulu has right now. It's huge. The girls are stars. They're household names. That's number one, right? There's another little caveat where Taylor Frankie Paul did post a TikTok a while ago saying, this is my audition for The Bachelorette. And it got people talking, right? It got people in the comment section saying, oh my gosh, we want you to be, oh my gosh, we will watch it for the first time in forever, whatever, So then people are like, why didn't Nick Viall announce it? Here's why Alex Cooper announced it. She's coming out with her new show, the yacht show, right? Finding Love on a Yacht. I believe Gabby Wendy is the host of it. Alex Cooper is producing it. So, like I said, they're trying to get people more involved in their reality shows. They're keeping it in-house. They're keeping it in network. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously Taylor is going to be the next Bachelorette. And then you have the other part two, the Dancing with the Stars choices we all thought was a little strange, right? Not saying that Whitney doesn't deserve it and not saying that Jen Affleck doesn't deserve it, but it was odd because at the reunion, Taylor did say that she auditioned for it. So to not give it to the biggest star on the show, because she is, like, it's black and white. Taylor is the biggest star on that show. Not having your star compete on Dancing with the Stars, at the time, I wasn't thinking, there has to be another reason for it. But now looking back, there's definitely another reason for it. And that's because they were in talks to have her being the Bachelorette. The idea is great. I mean, like I said, when Taylor posted that TikTok, somebody had a light bulb moment. They said, could Taylor Frankie Paul really be our next Bachelorette? Would she do it? The Bachelor franchise has needed a moment like this for so long. A lead that would blow everyone away. And I feel like in recent years, we've kind of gotten away from that. The announcement of the lead used to be such a big deal. Everybody used to be so excited about it. And I feel like we've lost that a little bit over the past couple of years. Now, not every season, every once in a while we have a Joey Grosday, a knight in shining armor, you know what I mean? But there were seasons, more often than not, in my opinion, that the lead was announced and we were like, oh, okay, we'll give it a try. Never an, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see this person be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, in part because there were a lot of instances where the lead was chosen and we didn't really know anything about them. Either A, they went home too soon, or B, they didn't get any screen time in their original season and we were just kind of like, okay, you're telling me it's going to be great, so I'm just going to assume it's going to be great. I'm going to assume we didn't get to see them enough and I'm going to come in with an open mind. And then the seasons have just been kind of a letdown. Taylor Frankie Paul is the opposite of that. One of the biggest stars on one of the biggest shows on Hulu. That is a wow factor casting moment. And it's exactly what the franchise needs to get people excited about watching seasons of The Bachelor. I'm totally for it. You know, I want to address some of the criticisms of it. So some people are like, does it lose authenticity that Taylor Frankie Paul is already famous, right? I don't think it loses any more on authenticity than it already has. You know, like we got to stop with the here for the wrong reasons talk, because it's always an underlying motivating factor, even if it's only like 3%. If it wasn't, they wouldn't go on the show, point blank, period. You know, there's like, I am wondering what kind of men it's going to attract to the show. And, you know, Taylor did say in her interview with Alex Cooper that she wants somebody that wants to be online. She wants somebody to be in her TikToks with her. So I feel like they're just leaning a little bit more into the fact that social media plays such a huge role in being on a reality TV dating show at this moment in time. The Bachelorette is asking for a mess is one comment that I saw. And yes, I think that's exactly the point. I think that that is exactly what they want. And quite frankly, I think it's what has been missing in seasons past. You know, in making Taylor Frankie Paul the next Bachelorette, I think they are prioritizing 100% authenticity, even if that equates to messiness, over someone playing the part. You know, we've heard a lot from Bachelor Nation contestants, both on my show and on other podcasts, where, you know, they really do fear social media's reaction, the audience's reaction. I think sometimes that takes away a lot of the authenticity of these contestants. Taylor Frankie Paul is not the one. She could care less. She likes it. You know what I mean? Like, fight in the comment section. She's like, I love it. You're giving me more engagement. So I think Taylor has learned from her mistakes. I think she's going to make for a refreshing Bachelorette and really just leave it all out there. You know, and I think people are like, oh, she's not really there for love. I say, give her a chance. You know, you don't know that. Wouldn't she want to find her happily ever after? Wouldn't she want some stability in her life when it came to a romantic partner? So to the naysayers out there about Taylor being the next Bachelorette, I say she might surprise you. So let's give her a chance. Dakota. We have to talk about Dakota. Okay, if you don't know who Dakota is, if you're like totally lost to all of this and you don't watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Dakota is Taylor's baby daddy. They just had a baby together, I think 17 months ago. Now she does have other children from her first marriage. The marriage broke up after that soft swinging scandal. Dakota, she's been dating since Secret Lives of Mormon Wives came out. He did poke fun at the announcement. They've been back and forth, on again, off again. Talk about a ping pong ball. That is back and forth all the live long day. He did poke fun at the announcement. He made a TikTok recreating the TikTok that Taylor made when Taylor posted and was like, this is my audition for The Bachelorette. He did say in the comment section, it's a joke. Everyone relax, LOL. That being said, I'm happy for Tay, and I hope she finds happiness no matter what. In the Call Her Daddy interview, Alex asked if Dakota knew, and at that point, she was like, no. So we might have found out at the same time the rest of us did, which I think is kind of crazy, but there are theories that Dakota might pop up on Taylor's season of The Bachelorette. You know, they always try to bring the ex back in, and we haven't actually gotten an iconic "your ex is here" moment since Hannah Brown and Pilot Peter. You know, there have been a lot of flop exes walk through the Bachelor Mansion door, and nothing ever really came of it. But with Taylor and Dakota, I mean, those are the ingredients for a reality TV moment. On one hand, I'm like, no, gosh, please don't let me see Dakota walk in and ask Jesse Palmer, I really need to talk to Taylor. I really need to talk to Taylor. I'm like, please spare us, God, of that. But on the other hand, I'm like, bring it on. You know, like, I want to be entertained. I think he totally would do it. 100%. You guys totally. The dude loves it. He loves it. Okay. I think he would be there. And I think he loves Taylor. So as long as she doesn't end up with him, I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine. Hometowns are going to be wild. Y'all remember the barbecue? Okay. It's going to be so crazy. I actually can't wait. It's going to be so crazy. I cannot wait. All right, this week for final thoughts, let's talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 6 premiere kicked off this week. Highly anticipated. Housewives are going through a bit of a slump, in my opinion, at the moment. And there are always ebbs and flows when it comes to any show that's been on TV. But in my opinion, right now, the Housewives are in a little bit of a slump. But Salt Lake City has always been, the diamond in the rough, the biggest, brightest, coldest snowflake. I don't really know if that's an analogy. Anyways, we've always looked forward to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, right? Like the newest franchise on the block hasn't really gotten to their heads yet. I fear it has. After watching this season premiere, I feel the housewifery has gotten to a couple of their heads. But let's get into it first. We start right off with a girls' trip. Similar to having the entire cast there like they did in season 5 with the Bezos dinner. Bravo clearly liked having everyone together to kick off this season. They went bigger this time or smaller in an RV, depending on, your perception of it. But anyways, we all know what happens when all the housewives get in a Sprinter van. So what happens when all the housewives get in an RV? Whitney gets strippers, which are very uncommon in the state of Utah. So anyways, Britney is hustling for some screen time. And I guess I should tell you who's all on the cast right now. So it's Whitney, Heather, Meredith, Lisa, Angie. Who am I missing? Mary. I should really have the picture up in front of me. I just don't. Brittany's a friend of at the moment. Oh, and Bronwyn. Brittany's a friend of the moment, but she is like hustling for her screen time, defending Lisa, even though Lisa didn't go on the RV because she's hanging out with Blake and Ben. Instantly coming for Whitney's business on the bus, pulling out camcorders because she was recording them last season, announces that she and Jared got engaged and unengaged. Britney is out here doing the most. I love her. I love an unhinged moment, but wow, when you talk about thirsty, that's thirsty. You know what else is thirsty that I totally forgot because I saw this story whenever I was literally getting ready to board my flight from Toronto back to Cleveland. And I didn't include it. You guys saw that Iris and TJ got back together from Love Island? Why lie to our faces? Give me a freaking break. And that's why I just feel like the whole entire Love Island cast, season 7, thirsty. And yeah, duh. Anybody that goes on Love Island is going to be thirsty, but I feel like the new heights thirst. It just really got me riled up. And then everybody's like, in the moment when Pepe and Iris are together and everybody's like, yeah, that's going to last. They're like, why don't you think they're going to last, hater? It's like, no, it's because I have eyes and a brain. Stop gaslighting me. Okay, anyways. Lisa Barlow's not in the episode at all because she's hanging out with Ben and Blake, but the whole episode is Lisa. You guys remember Marsha? I may be dating myself here. Lisa. Go ahead and throw the football at her face because the whole episode was about Lisa, and they're talking about lawsuits being floated around, more than one. They're not all squared away. Multiple stories in the press, some ongoing, some not resolved. Heather acting again as if she never opens the internet. Everybody knew what was going on with Lisa. It was like every day there was a different story about a different lawsuit. But I kind of have learned in covering Housewives for so long that it's like par for the course, and 9 times out of 10, they end up getting squared away. And it's like, I don't want to say it's nothing, but it's like a miscommunication or something like that. So I'm not like all ready to jump in like Angie said and be like, oh, it's like what Jen Shaw did. No, not really. It's a civil case, not a criminal case. But still, like the naivety too of Heather being like, I didn't know, you knew, we all knew. So Bronwyn admits that she lied about that $4 million necklace. She said, I knew I wasn't going to buy it, but I made the girls believe I had it by saying, when I wear it, you'll see it. And, she has a really honest moment in this confessional, Bronwyn does, where she says, I was really immature in that moment, and I wanted these girls to, this is my interpretation, see me as a housewife. See me as someone who was worthy to be there when it comes to the, financial pressure. They put it on themselves, right? It's keeping up with the Joneses. Like Bronwyn's like, okay, this is my first season on Housewives. I have to make sure everybody knows that I'm rich, that I'm wonderful, that I have all these, fancy clothes and fancy jewelry and whatever. And I think that she got swept up in that moment. I thought it was really refreshing to see her own it, 100%, but she did only own it after she got caught red-handed lying. So I feel like that was off-putting for a lot of the women, and I feel like tension with Bronwyn is going to linger, with other cast members late into the season as well. So jury's still out on my opinion personally. And then also Whitney opens up about her business going under. And again, anytime I see I did see these headlines when they were filming where it was being conveyed that Whitney was doing like a multi-level marketing scheme and that it was a scam and whatever. I don't love like digging too deep into stories like that when it comes to just seeing people post TikToks about it and stuff. If it gets picked up by a major publication, that's one thing. But again, Whitney said, these people making TikToks wanting to be famous off of the detriment of her business. And I agree with Whitney where there are people that just want to do that. And so I tend to stay away from those type of stories. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't really know. I don't know. Anyways, I didn't dig too deep into it is basically what I'm saying. But then Britney, again, in her like weird world that she's living in, she's the one that brings up Whitney's business to begin with. And then Whitney's crying and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, Whitney. Mid-hug is like, you should apologize to me for saying what you said about Jarrett. And it's like, girl, what are you doing? Like, I can't tell if Britney really doesn't know what time it is, what day it is, what's going on around her, or if she is like so desperate for screen time that she's doing these things on purpose. Overall thoughts about the premiere, like I think it was okay. Salt Lake City is like on such a pedestal though right now that I think it would be hard to blow me away. They keep raising the bar for themselves. So I think sometimes it's hard to top. Like I said, I don't like when we get to a point in the franchise where they think they have to start acting like housewives. And I think that's where we're getting in Salt Lake City right now, 6 seasons in. It's definitely not the same as it was season 1, 2, and 3. How could it be? I mean, there's no way around it, right? When you become famous and everybody loves your franchise and everybody can't wait for your franchise, like some of that is bound to go to your head. I just feel like they should be more real and not just pick fights with each other just because they think that that's what the audience wants out of Housewives. And again, Lisa Barlow, the main character, even when she's not there, she should be the one signing the checks. All right, you guys, I hope you had fun. I know I did. I know I missed you. I know I needed my friends. I love you guys so, so much. If you want more, make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. Bravo Friday, we're going to be popping off. Bachelor Tuesday will be back this week. So if you want more, it's patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. You can also check me and David out on our new podcast, The Seriously Show. I don't think it's technically new. It's like 6 months old, I think. Anyways, if you want some giggles, you can go check us out there. Please leave a review if you have not done so. A little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like it says, because I do. I'll see you next week.